First started, I was 13. I waited until I got 18, and I was big. When they turned me down for a license in New York to fight for the championship, it was kind of sad that they did it. So I figured, I said, well, I'm a man now, I can take it on my own.
BoxingPedia log, Fantasy What If number 9. From 1947 to 1954, Joe Louis, Jersey Joe Walcott, Ezzard Charles, and Rocky Marciano engaged in a classic four-man rivalry to decide the new face of the division. This history can be viewed in both my 4 heavyweight kings of the 50s video and a timeline of the 1950s heavyweight boxing division. Shout out to my champs who've seen them all already, early access. Both can be viewed via the bottom of the description with the advertised videos. Now, I've given you that brief history lesson to pose this question within it. What if we threw a prime Sonny Liston into the mix? He was said to have been born in 1932, but other, perhaps outlandish reports claim that he was born in 1919. For this what if, we're going to set Sonny up for a chance at a new legacy. No mob, no crime, no mystery. Just one of the all-time greats entering his name into a rivalry he allegedly would have been a part of if he boxed a conventional timeline as an athlete. After being released from prison, he turns pro in 1939 at the age of 20. 2 years into the reign of Joe Louis, and produces a string of excellence in which he knocks out almost every man he faces for a record of 33-0. Many of those opponents, including but not limited to Max Schmeling, Tony Galento, and Buddy Bear, were champion Joe Louis's leftovers, and for this reason an excuse was openly made as to why he hadn't received a title shot yet. Even with Sonny cleaning out the division during Louis's tenure in World War II, there were no plans in place to give him a significant title shot because he was simply too dangerous a risk for the likes of Ezzard Charles and Jersey Joe Walcott, though the real reason is the fear of allowing an ex-con a shot at the title. It's also important to note that this is a Liston who is out to change his perception as a criminal, and he lives a clean, honest life inspired by that of Joe Louis. Despite this, rumors circulate that he is involved with the mob, and no one really trusts Sonny because life is just unfair. Let's dive into the madness. Back in 1947, the Joe Louis camp promised that Charles Sonny Liston would receive a title shot after Louis first engaged Jersey Joe Walcott. Louis scored a controversial decision over Jersey Joe, forcing an immediate rematch instead. Here in 1948, the Brown Bomber wins the rematch in the same way that he did in reality, a knockout. The world now waits for whether he will honor the promise to face Sonny Liston. In the meanwhile, Sonny finally secures a match with the top-ranked Ezzard Charles in an eliminator bout, and it's one for the ages. Charles' skill and technique prove troublesome as he nullifies Sonny's jab with counter right hands. Sonny begins to second-guess himself in exchanges after his jaw is broken by a counter right, though he is still landing here and there. His stellar power wears away at Charles and creates openings deeper into the fight where he drops the Cobra. Charles answers and gets back to work on taking away the inside game from Liston. When Sonny switches to his jab, Ezzard switches back to leaning, parrying, and countering, and vice versa. When the smoke clears, despite the knockdown, the Cincinnati Cobra wins and takes Liston's O. It's a wake-up call for the 29-year-old young lion as his record drops to 33-1. In 1949, Joe Louis announces his retirement on the back of Liston's fall to Charles, and announces he's promoting a match between Charles and Walcott. Charles wins and becomes champion, as in reality. Liston returns to action with only one fight and it's against Jersey Joe Walcott late in the year. Again, we're in for a chess match. Jersey Joe is one of the craftiest and most shifty heavies ever, and he puts all of his experience to use against the rebounding Liston. Walcott utilizes the style he did in the first Joe Louis fight. He uses his one-of-one footwork, coupled with his jab, to maintain distance and chop Sonny up. Sonny adapts, attempting to catch Walcott with a right as Louis did. It doesn't work this time around, as Liston collapses mentally and Walcott coasts to a decision behind becoming the first man to drop Liston. Jersey Joe was just too elusive, and Sonny heads back to the drawing board, looking to take his fighting game to the next level in the face of his record falling to 33-2. In 1950, Sonny lobbies for a rematch with either Charles or Walcott, but is denied. Joe Louis returns to boxing due to his financial issues and secures a big money title fight with Ezzard Charles. For Charles, it's a shot to legitimize his reign. Louis opts for a tune-up, however, and you guessed it, it's time for the lost matchup with Liston. The bout is billed as good versus evil, a notion that puzzles Liston as fight fans openly call him a convict who Captain America will defeat in the ring. In said matchup, the soon-to-be 36-year-old former champion proves formidable initially, but is overwhelmed by Liston ultimately and knocked out for the first time since Max Schmeling did as much in 1936. It was devastating and drew Liston the ire of the public, as evil was said to have overcome good. No one was more upset at the bashing of the hero than Liston, in fact. Despite Sonny's victory, Louis is still ironclad for the shot against Charles, and it unfolds as it did in reality, a decision for Charles. The event, begrudgingly, adds credibility to Liston's domination of Louis that sent his record to 34-2. In 1951, Ezzard Charles beats Jersey Joe Walcott again before losing the title to him later in the year, and Rocky Marciano makes waves when he retires Joe Louis. Notable is that Marciano is celebrated despite bashing Louis, while Liston was ripped a new one. So the Brown Bomber exits the rivalry having faced every other man in it, but only having beaten Walcott. Sonny wallows in the hatred of the public as he appears iced out of the title scene. This fact is celebrated and only feeds into his rage and hunger. It is the culmination of the fans never giving him a fair chance that turns him into the figure of terror we know from reality. Now he stares his opponents down like fresh meat and lets all of his rage out in the ring. Sonny no longer does interviews or does much of any talking in public. He has 3 knockouts in 1951 in which he displays a meaner, merciless style in the ring, moving to 37-2. His jab is like a right hand and he swarms the body with vicious, evil-ridden blows. It's common for his opponents to leave the bout missing teeth or suffering some sort of noticeable bodily harm. In 1952, Rocky Marciano continues building his case for a title shot, and Jersey Joe doubles down on Ezzard Charles, tying their rivalry. An eliminator bout is proposed between Liston and Marciano, but ultimately scrapped as Walcott chooses The Rock and signs the contract. Liston, irate, takes his rage out on 3 more knockout victims in displays that draw further hatred from the public. He's now 40-2. Marciano and Walcott have their iconic first bout from reality, and the Susie Q blesses Marciano with the title and a perfect record of 43-0. Sonny Liston is in the audience with his usual mean mug as the public embraces Marciano in full as the face of the division. A reminder, they praised Marciano for retiring Joe Louis, but hated Sonny for beating him. They boosted Rocky to the title scene with love and adoration, but openly despised Liston and branded him a monster and criminal, despite neither being true. If it's a big, bad villain that they want, that's what they'll get. In 1953, Marciano and Walcott's rematch is derailed by an injury to the champ. An eliminator is ordered between Walcott and Liston. If Walcott backs out, he forfeits his shot at the Brockton Blockbuster. And so, the rematch between Walcott and Liston is on. This time around, Liston walks Jersey Joe down and knocks him out in the very first round, ending his career. Walcott appeared a timid shell of his former self, and Liston absorbed the boos with pride after the massacre. Fight fans and analysts claim Liston only won because Marciano took Walcott's confidence. It was the same thing back when Liston beat Lewis. People said the younger Lewis would have beaten Liston. They just refused to give this guy even a shred of honor or love. And this really bothers Sonny on the inside. Walcott retires, also having fought every man in the rivalry, only having beaten Ezzard Charles twice. Liston moves to 41-2. Later in the year, a match we lost in reality for numerous reasons comes to be, and it's sure to be the greatest challenge of the Brockton Blockbuster's career, as he's facing a stylistic matchup nightmare. When Liston and Marciano meet, the stare down is telling. Liston looks right through Rocky. And though Rocky doesn't look away, he does blink, if you get what I'm saying. To Sonny, this was all he needed, as the opening to unload all of his hatred on the man who took the shine he felt he'd earned. What unfolds leaves fight fans in tears, as Sonny Liston disfigures Marciano's face and drops him over and over. The Rock won't give up, but he is ultimately waved off as the referee refuses to allow the beloved champion to die in the ring. And that's just what was about to happen. Good stoppage. Sonny Liston is the new heavyweight world champion and the most hated man on the planet. Fans throw trash and chairs into the ring, and Sonny has to be escorted from the ring. This is some pro wrestling heel shit right here. Marciano's perfect legacy has been blemished as he falls to 43-1. Liston moves to 42-2. In 1954, Marciano forgoes a rematch to fine-tune himself and has an eliminator bout with the re-emerging former champion, Ezzard Charles. They have their historic first bout from reality, and it sparks interest for a rematch because it was so close and competitive. The rematch unfolds the same, as Rocky overcomes a horrible split nose injury to win. Rocky moves to 45-1. In the meanwhile, Liston defends the title twice. The first is a first-round knockout over Roland Lastarza, in which the champion looked to be torturing his man before the referee mercifully ended the punishment. Liston also appeared angry that the fight was stopped. Liston's camp advertises it as how Marciano should have handled Lastarza if he were the hero the public claimed him to be. Next, Liston flattens Don Cockle in another first-round knockout. The referee didn't need to stop this one, as Sonny knocked the challenger out cold. The world began to more so worry rather than clamor for the Brockton Blockbuster in his pending rematch against this seemingly invincible monster. Liston moves to 44-2 and is now dealing with death threats. 1955 opens with the longed-for yet dreaded rematch between Liston and Marciano. All eyes are tuned in to see if The Rock can pull off a miracle and become the first two-time heavyweight champion in history. Rocky says he's never trained harder and appears more motivated and confident than ever before. He's even packed on some weight to reach 200 pounds. Liston says nothing. He just flexes his large fist at the camera. There's a weird feeling in the air tonight, like a fix may be in. And Sonny knows this, and his camp feels it too. They know what they have to do. Rocky comes out swinging wildly, trying to force Sonny backward. Liston counters by keeping Rocky on the end of his 84-inch reach jab. Next, Rocky attempts to smother the champion on the inside and bang away at his body. Liston responds by fighting inside with the challenger. It's a very entertaining exchanging of bombs, but Liston ultimately overpowers The Rock and sends him down. Rocky gets up, and a repeat of the first bout unfolds as he's willed to the canvas again and again until the referee stops the bout. In the post-fight, Sonny simply says, "Now we're even." Looking at both men's records, which now stand at 45-2, he's darn right. Wow, talk about petty. And the public's hatred of Sonny reaches a new high. In a shocking moment, gunshots ring at the post-fight, and Liston is wounded via a bullet grazing his face. He makes a full recovery, but now requires a police escort in his quest around the United States. Mid-year, Liston moves to 46-2 when he thrashes the old mongoose Archie Moore in the latter's quest to become the oldest heavyweight champion ever. Next, Liston rematches Ezzard Charles, and you can guess how it goes this time. Charles tries his strategy from the first time around, but is walked right through for the second round stoppage. It spells the end of his tenure as a contender as he fades away. It appeared to be light work for the champion, as there no longer appeared to be a worthy challenger to his crown. With that said, Rocky Marciano also exits the game as he announces his retirement, and the Liston camp releases a statement that more or less says how the public chose the wrong man. Sonny Liston is officially the only man left standing from the glorious five-man rivalry that revived the division, and heavyweight boxing is deemed to be in the age of scum and villainy. Liston reigns at 47-2 with 5 title defenses, and the world has no idea what they're truly in for. He points to the scar on his face from the bullet to symbolize his reign and pending dominance. Here in 1956, we're going to begin a speed run to 1964. Floyd Patterson beats Archie Moore to earn a shot at the title. You already know how this is going to go. It's a first round thrashing of little effort for the undisputed heavyweight champion. In 1957, Liston defends only once, again in a rematch against Patterson. Same result as in reality. Light work. This guy is unstoppable. From 1958 to 1961, Liston marches through the top 10 as he did in reality, as a very active champion, but this time they're all title defenses, and by the time we reach 1962, his record sits at 68-2 with an insane 27 title defenses, as if he couldn't be hated anymore. This despised title reign has now surpassed Joe Louis's record of 25 title defenses. The victims range from Marty Marshall to Wayne Bethea to Nino Valdez to Cleveland Williams twice to Zora Foley to Eddie Machen and beyond. The hope of the boxing world is that Sonny will just retire now, given his advanced age of 43. All he announces is that he's about to slow down as he considers retiring. It's almost like Sonny enjoys torturing the public now. In 1962, Sonny defends the title once in a third-round knockout of Ingemar Johansson, who had a grueling trilogy with Floyd Patterson. Noticeable is that Sonny would have finished this job in the first round years earlier, so hope grows that he's slowing down. In 1963, Sonny defends only once more against Doug Jones, and despite some resistance, he finishes his man in the third round. The fateful 1964 has arrived as the loudmouth Cassius Clay finally gets his shot at the Big Bear. As in reality, Clay shakes up the world and throws the state of the boxing public's emotions into turmoil as they feel hopeless in choosing between a black Muslim and the most hated heavyweight champion ever. Maybe Jack Johnson would like a word there, but I digress. Liston, with a record of 70-3 with 29 title defenses under his belt, decides to hang up the gloves at the ripe age of 45. He announces that the people never deserved a champion like him, and now they can have their worst nightmare in Muhammad Ali. All he ever wanted was to be accepted and given a fair chance. He rides off into the sunset and does mild things here and there, like refereeing bouts and training fighters like George Foreman. Over time, as the hatred dies down and logic emerges, Liston is held as the best heavyweight champion ever, even in the face of Muhammad Ali's incredible career. He is believed to be a formidable enough champion to have reigned in any era, even the super heavyweight era of today. Sonny lives a long enough life to witness the public opinion on his greatness change, and he passes away happy at finally being accepted and respected as, arguably, the greatest heavyweight ever. And so ends this fictional tale of Charles Sonny Liston. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe. Consider hitting the join button to become a channel member and enjoy superior perks, like early access. This has been the Charles Jackson, author of the Boxing Encyclopedia, and I'll see you in my next vlog. Thank you.